The tutorial today, our focus is on database. Same thing we classify as access. We're actually going to use the application software Microsoft Access for this tutorial. From time to time, when you hear the term create a database, you know that you, in this case, we're using Microsoft Access to create it. So if you're given a piece of activity or task to complete and it's asking you to create a database, you're going to use application software access or Microsoft Access to do so. However, just to bear in mind as well, there are several other software out there that can be used to create a database. But for the use of this tutorial, we'll be using Microsoft Access. Now, we'll be creating a new database. We're going to build it from scratch. So therefore, we're inside the Microsoft Access window right now, and you realize that we have a list of options here. Our first focus is to create a blank database. So you will click on blank database, and here it gives you the option for you to give your database a name. So let's say we're going to call this database, let's say we're going to call it web design. Good. So we're going to call this database web design, and please note carefully, unlike other application, take for example Microsoft Word, where you open the document and in some cases after the person finishing creating their document they save it. It is not so as it relates to database, because what you'll be seeing right here now, by us creating this database, is almost like we're saying we are saving it. Okay, so to bear in mind that don't just give it a name and click on create. You have to determine where do I want to create this database, where do I want to save this database. Alright, so to determine that, this folder right here allow me to browse for a location where I want to save it. So I click on the folder, just wait a bit, it should give me the options of where I can save them. But currently, if it was a case that I just go ahead and click on create, it will be saved in documents as you're seeing in the path right here. But I want to create it on the desktop, and in some cases person would probably want to create theirs like on their flash drive or so on. Alright, so here we go. Here we are getting the option as to where I want to save it. So I did say that I'm going to save mine on the desktop. So I am going to search for desktop. And I'm going to click on desktop right here. Oh, hold on, going to quick access SN desktop. Okay, great. So here it's saying this PC, next you have desktop, suggest I'm going to save it on the desktop. And if you realize the name that I give it before is still here, which is web page. So I can go ahead now and I can click on save. But just before I do so, file extensions are very important as well. In this case, this version of Access I'm using, the extension for it is ACCDB. Right here is the extension. Let me highlight it for you. Right here is the extension when you are saving a Access file. But automatically, once you're in the software, the extension will come up automatically. But just to indicate to you, just in case if you're asked. So I click on OK. And you realize here where I had documents before, it now changed to desktop to say, guess what? This file is going to be created on desktop. So I'm going ahead and I click on create. and my database is being created now. So even if you're given a question, say, okay, step one, create a database by the name and give it a name, web design. What I did a while ago, that is what would have been actually required of you. Now, this is my database window, and if you look at the top right here, you're seeing web design and it's saying database. So guess it's saying you have just created a database by the name of web design. All right. Now, there are several things that can be created inside of your database. You can create, for example, table, you can create queries, you can create report, you can create forms. All of those are just some of the things that can be created in your database. Now, we are going to go ahead and we're going to try and create a table. And you realize I keep on using the term create repeatedly. So here we have a tab beside home. It's called create. I'm going to click on it. And here I have a list of options as related to things that I can create. Now, bear in mind that let's say you're going to build a house. You don't get up to the and say, guess what? I get black steel and you just start put on black and steel and so on to see you're building a house. No, you must have a design in mind. So same as it relates to database and creating these items that I mentioned, you in most cases have to do your design first. So we are creating table. So I'm going to click on table design. And when I click on table design, you realize that I am given 1, 2, 3 basic areas, which is your field name, your data type, and your description. And they're saying description is optional. It's good to have your description, but if you don't have it, it is not that is going to cause your database not to work properly. Good. So I'm going to create a table, and in this table, let's say I'm going to use F name for first name. I'm going to move across to my data type, and here I have a list of options that I can choose from. So I am going to use text, short text to be my data type. I'm going to leave the description blank. And next thing I need to point out as well, at the bottom we have some general option that you can use. And I'm going to zoom into this one specifically, field size. Now, a field size determines how much character or characters can go into a specific field. By default, Microsoft Access allows you to enter up to 255 characters into a field. However, you can change that. Take for example, if we want to say let's say one thing that there is no person name that pass let's say 25 characters. Good. But take for example, if there's somebody name that pass 25 character after you set this, once you type in those 25 characters, it won't allow you to pass 25. Okay, I will demonstrate that as I move along. Let's go to last name. Because I'm going to use L name, and I am still going to use short text. Let's say I am going to use age, and of course you click your drop down option again, and you see a list of option right here. Age would gotta be what? Not text but number. Let's say we're going to use fee, move across, and we or drop down, and let's we're going to we come on to fee. We're going to use currency because that speaks of money. So all of these options right here would have to is basically determine what information will go under these field names. All right. So let's click on currency. All right. All right. Let me just insert a row right here, and let's say I am going to put ID number. And let me show you something again. Note carefully. When I click inside of the cell, if I should leave some space right there, and I have ID number, see what happened? It's giving me an error message because I have created some space in front of here. So there shouldn't be any space right there. So just ensure that as you move along, alright? For ID number, I am going to use short text and I'm going to say let the ID number be 4. 4 field size 4. Good. So now that we have entered our field names and our data type, I'm going to click this immediate X right here to close it, and it's going to ask me, do you want to save changes to the database, to the design table? Yes. Alright. Now, just before I click, I give my table a name. There's also a very important feature of database. We talk about keys, and we have different types of keys. But what I want to touch on first today is my primary key. Now, let me just cancel this for you. Now, primary key. Alright, and if you observe my window carefully right now, starting from left to right, you will realize that there's an option called primary key, which is right here. And it's saying primary key designate the selected field or fields as a primary key. I have to decide which of these fields do I want to be my primary key. And based on that question, you know that there have to be something special or specific about a particular field for you to make it a primary key. Now, which of these fields would be the most unique field? One of a kind. The most unique field in this case would be your ID number. And it is unique because you will not find, or you should not find, two persons with the same ID number. So that is what makes it so unique. So therefore, we can click on that field and we can click on primary key. And if you observe carefully, you see a little key right here at the beginning of ID number. And if I want to remove it, I click on the same field and I click on ID number, ID primary key again. So what if you're not seeing your primary key here and you want to make this field your primary key? You could also click on the field, right click on your mouse, and you can select primary key. Okay? So now we can move on to save our table. Yes, I want to save it. And let's just call this one Gen Info to say it's general info about students, all right, our trainees. So let me click on OK. And if you look to the extreme right here, sorry, left of your screen right here, you're seeing Gen Info. Good. So that is the table that we just created. Now to open the table, all right, we design the table just now, So to open the table, you're gonna double click on it, and here you go. This is the table that we have just created. So ID number, first name, last name, age, and field. Fee, those are our individual field. All right. So let's say the ID number is WSD for website design 1. And what if I want WSD 11? So let me enter the next one. I am pressing the 1 on my keyboard right now, but guess what? You are not seeing the other one being entered inside of that field. Reason being, because when we were designing our table, we set the field size to be 4. And so far we have 4 characters. So no matter the amount of numbers I press or letters I press, it will not allow me to pass the 4. Okay? Let's say the first name is John. John, sorry, John, and the last name is Brown, and John age is, let's say, 24. And remember, we did create the fee field to be currency data type, and automatically the dollar sign is inside of it already. So there's no need for me to enter any dollar sign at any point. I can, let's say I'm gonna put 3,000, right? 3,000, and I press enter on my keyboard, and automatically I move to the next row. All right, and just to point this out, as I mentioned field before, and I mentioned row. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 field. So each of these individual areas is referred to as a field. Therefore, the smallest piece of data that can be entered in a database is field. Now, with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 field, that give us one record. So therefore, a record is a combination of more than one field. So therefore, this is the record for John Brown going across. Okay? Let's just enter a next one. Let's say WSD2. I move across, and now we're going to use, let's say, Sue. Let's use Sue Sims. Move across. We can enter Sue Sims' name. She's 30. Move across. We can enter let's say 3500. Press enter, and you will continue and you go on and on. Alright, as it relates to creating tables inside of your database. So that is a general overview of creating tables inside of database, and of course you can create other tables as well. Your database can consist of more than one tables, but for general understanding and a step-by-step process to ensure everybody understand and follow, I would like for you to follow what was just done in this tutorial and create this same table called GenInfo, and you're going to enter at least 10 more records in this database as it relates to you practicing. We will move on using this database as we go further. All right. So until then, remember, you need to practice, and of course, give this video a like and share with someone else as well. Until then, have a great day.